May it please you, Ma'am, my name is Raj2 and I appear on behalf of the defendant, Hanif Anwar. I would like to make a plea of mitigation for the sentencing to be reduced in relation to the charge that my client is facing. My client has pleaded guilty to theft, contrary to Section 1, Subsection 1 of the Theft Act of 1968. Ma'am, Mr. Anwar fully accepts the seriousness of the charge that he is facing, the taking and driving away of a vehicle belonging to another. I submit that aggravating and mitigating factors induce my client's intentions and pose implications in regard to his demeanour. Ma'am, may I begin with my first point of plea?
You may.
Aggravating factors need to be addressed. Acting on impulse. My client acted on impulse, and it can be argued that he did notice Zoe filling the car and he may have planned his actions. However, the incident was all a spur of the moment. There was no preparation or implementation. My client merely panicked, left the vehicle, and avoided the scene. If he was desperate for the vehicle, he would have stayed and attempted to carry on driving. He did not harm anyone. It was a mere opportunity, and this impulsive nature took over. It was a spur of the moment action. Tension and pressure of the moment can make any reasonable person crack, as it can affect the mindset of the person. Ma'am, I submit that my client's past and personal circumstances affect the sense of direction that my client is urging towards, as the following mitigating factors have an influence on the way of thinking. The combination of financial difficulties, family tension, neglect and unemployment produce tension, which can affect his mindset. My client faces parental neglection. This can be a hardship that he is facing. He has no positive influence or guidance. Yes, he is living with his uncle, but that is not the same as being around your family and your parents. The uncle is aware of my client's financial difficulties, yet he still demands rent. It's merely a tenancy agreement rather than a family relationship. He's not cared for, it's just accommodation. There's no understanding or appreciation. Furthermore, financial difficulties that my client faces is also a mitigating factor. The only income my client gets is £20, and that is rent towards his uncle. He gets job seekers allowance, which is limited money. However, he uses this responsibly. The lack of money can affect a person's mindset. He has no luxuries, and this could have been an implication on his impulsive behaviour. Moreover, unemployment. No stable employment is also a mitigating factor. My client is dedicated to getting a job. He's actively applied for a job and job seekers allowance, which is £5, which he uses responsibly. If he faces severe punishment, this would affect his chance of getting a job and sabotage any future opportunities. The fact that my client pleaded guilty means that he can admit when he is wrong and he can fully accept any mistakes that he's committed. He took responsibility by pleading guilty and proving himself. This is a positive change. The fact that there's time gaps between the offences is also important. There's a decrease in the time between each offence. Severe punishment would be worse, not better, and would make the situation for my client not an ideal one. The offences were not pre-planned, they were spurs of the moment. The possession of cannabis and the fact that he stole a bike were merely spur of the moment. My client is of a young age. He is susceptible to mistakes. He is vulnerable. The impulsive nature affects any rectification of mistakes. Attempting to change means that he can mature and grow as an individual. He takes matters into his own hands as he uses £5 appropriately and not on other things, such as any luxuries. The past doesn't define the future. There's still time for change and improvement. He's only 23 and in need of adult support, guidance and help, which he's not receiving from his uncle or his current living conditions. He's family orientated and sought help from his family members, not his friends, which would have been a bad choice. This also shows maturity. My client merely needs the help and support, and a long sentence sabotages positive attributes, which is not pushing him in the right direction with no inkling of hope. If it may please you, Ma'am, on addressing the mitigating factors, my client has suffered a dysfunctional and unstable life so far. There is potential, but he is in need of a push in the right direction. Providing a custodial sentence may sabotage any genuine hope or attempt further change for my client. My client is willing to, if you pardon me saying, Ma'am, pull himself together and amend his attitude. On receiving a more lenient sentence, my client will have a feeling of faith and a second chance is what he needs. To conclude, I address you, ma'am, with the hope that you may compassionately consider a more lenient sentence. I submit that my client should receive a 12-month conditional discharge, ensuring that he partakes in 45 hours of community service alongside finding employment. This will present my client with a punishment, yet a positive way of altering his outlook on life and remoulding himself. This sentence provides my client with a more stringent regime whilst giving him responsibility, which is what he is in need of. This being more practical than imprisonment or a fine, as my client faces financial difficulties. My client is still young and learning and wants to better himself. Unless I can be of any further assistance, that is what I propose. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.